violence. Thankfully, when we bang the drum now, we're a bit more civilized. Can you hear me now? A bit.
We have to hit them hard for this.
Beat out your frustrations on our drum.
Do not stop banging that drum.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. It's absolutely a gorgeous day out there. I think I got a light shower at one point today. And so however you're going about your day, getting ready for the beginning of the weekend or events going on during it, of which there are a number, again, going on in the Borderland region, or settling in for another great edition, if I do say so myself, of Talk El Paso, particularly Free for All Friday with Ida Beza Gardner, wishing everyone a happy Free for All Friday with the wave there as well, because of course that is what we do at the end of the week, each and every week, or as close to it as we can get sometimes, because there's way more news than we can ever hope to get into, even in the 2 hours every day, even just locally. But of course, there's a whole lot more news that is then just happening right here in our neck of the woods, in our region, or directly affecting us here. So this is that time of the week when we take those gloves off, politely enough anyway. I don't know if those phrases are really compatible, but in any case, we get into it and we can take on all of those subjects, all of those topics, all the things that you want to get this out and, well, talk about most specifically. So that's what we call it Free for All Friday, taking on all the comments, all the calls, all of the topics, issues, concerns, questions, comments, etc., that we can into 2 hours of the program, which is never quite enough, but we do our level best to get to it as much as possible. So, of course, we have those phone lines already open and not quite full yet. So if you do want to call in, of course, that number to do so, as will be on screen for those over on our social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and twitch.tv throughout the entirety of the program, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of issues going on, including very specifically for anyone particularly heading around our neck of the woods. There is a lot of traffic being expected around the Sun Bowl area. I mean, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks of major performances happening there. So RBD is going to be performing at the Sun Bowl. So just to be clear on that, that is going to be the tickets having been on sale for quite a long time here. So it's probably going to be, if anything, I was at the concert last weekend, the Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Alice Cooper one. And just to say here, okay, so we are within, I measured from our station to the Sun Bowl, a roughly half-hour walk. So, I mean, not nothing. It's not next door, but close enough. And the traffic prediction at the time anyway, which was right after we got out of the show, was to be about 11 minutes to get over to Sun Bowl Stadium. And let me just say, no, that is not what happened. In fact, the reason I kind of hesitate when I said Alice Cooper is we did not end up seeing him at all. So be prepared for there to be some serious traffic snarls in that area, both on the highway, on Mesa, anywhere approaching it. And then once the concert's over, probably later into the night, much later into the night, and of getting out of the area. So I'm just going to say this is my personal gripe, and one thing I've wanted to get off my chest. There needs to at least be a doubling of just the traffic maintenance staff, directors, whoever. I mean, off-duty police, but also people in the parking lots, because seriously, it took us an hour to get from, we would have gotten faster there walking. That is not at all an exaggeration, but rather the very much reality of what it is. So again, careful as y'all are traipsing around today. And again, maybe consider park and ride or walking because it might work out better for you. But that's one personal gripe. I think there's a ton of things going on in and around the area right now that we'll, of course, be getting into more throughout it and certainly into next week. But a lot more questions. And Rick Ray is mentioning one of the big ones about 4 finalists being named for the El Paso Chief of Police, with final interviews coming in 2 weeks, as noted by El Paso Matters specifically. 3 locals, or the very 3 who have spent the majority of their time in the El Paso Police Department, and 1 from out of town, including the one that is currently serving as the interim of Peter Pasillas. And so those are, it's an important thing, as that has been one of the major vacancies so far. Monica Cervantes saying that took the access road from Las Cruces down Benton to Pelicano, all the way past Sunland Park, and then onto the freeway. Even with some of the traffic issues going on between, El Paso and Las Cruces, that doesn't, it sounds convoluted, but might be the only way to make it work these days. So that's just a couple of the major things: traffic and people enforcing traffic. Didn't really mean to connect those issues, but hey, that is what it is. So let's dive into those phone lines and get into those calls. Again, if you're calling in the middle of a segment, you might get popped up live. That's the way this kind of tends to work. So just be Johnny on the spot on the phone and we'll get to you. But otherwise, we'll be taking those calls throughout both hours. Lines now full, 915-544-5876. Keep that number handy. But we are joined right now by Raul in the Northeast, in line with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. You claim to be an advocate of free speech.
Certainly
and I
am.
want to thank you and your station for allowing me the opportunity to sound off on the important issues of the day. And I hope you stick with that in light of all the criticisms that Eric and I received from many of your callers and Facebook posters, being, of the few liberals and progressives that listen to the station and participate. However, I feel that we are not given as much time as they are, as Barbara and Steve and Ben and now John, okay, and Marco for mayor, okay. And like you cut Eric short off yesterday, which isn't my idea of equal time or fully embracing free speech values. So now to my next topic. Andrew,
Sure.
I have been a student of U.S. world history and U.S. politics since my days at Jesuit High School, where I received a very woke education. And yesterday was a historic day, an unprecedented day in U.S. history and world history. And I've also been a student of Donald J. Trump since he slithered down Trump-Putin Tower's escalator in 2015 to announce his run for the presidency. And I know that your Trumper callers and Facebook posters say that I have TDS. Well, I think they have Trump mania, and overlook the fact that he hasn't exited the public stage since he lost re-election and started spreading the big lie. And the purple loon is running for president, too, okay? So yesterday, for the first time in U.S. history, the twice impeached former president of the United States had to surrender himself to the county jailhouse to have his mugshot taken. The fat fool and perp lied about his height and weight, okay? Now reports are prosecutors have 11.5 million documents with evidence of Trump's crimes that they are ready to present to Trump's attorneys. That includes the testimony of over 1,200 witnesses, just about all of Trump's inner circle, all Republicans, his White House staff and administration officials. And, they figured out if you stack those documents on top of each other, they would be higher than the Statue of Liberty, okay? And I heard and saw some of the witnesses, like Trump's chief of staff's aide, Cassidy Hutchinson, testify that Trump implied Vice President Pence should be hanged. During the 1/6 congressional hearings, I saw and heard Arizona Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, testify that Trump's co-defendant, Rudy Giuliani, told him that they didn't have any evidence of voter fraud, just theories, but no evidence. And I saw and heard Trump's former Attorney General Barr testify that he told Trump his claims of voter fraud were BS, and opined that he thought Trump was detached from reality. And I heard and saw Georgia Republican governor of state, Brad Raffensperger, testify that he and his wife received death threats from Trumpers when he wouldn't go along with Trump's ask for 11,780 more votes to flip the results. And as of this date, defendant for life Trump has been indicted by federal and state prosecutors of 4 criminal indictments and 91 felony charges. Now, Trump charges are claiming that either all of these charges will be dismissed or that he'll beat them all. Now, the legal experts that I've been listening to opined that the odds of that happening are extremely small in light of all the charges that he has and the fact that prosecutors win 97% of convictions. So my question to you is, Andrew, in this effort to engage in dialogue, what do you think the odds of Trump will either beat all the charges or have them all dismissed?
Yeah, again, that's getting a little bit too close to the idea of even betting on it, because giving odds for a legal situation, I mean, I am not privy to all of those 11 million documents, among other things. Not trying to cop out on it, but just the idea of giving odds, like, oh, we'll call it a coin flip or not, just it seems, I mean, I'll be watching the progression of the trials and the hearings and whatever is going to be available. I know that there's been talk about some of them maybe even having the courtroom set up and, wired for sound and all of that. So we'll see what comes out of this here. But the odds of it, all I can say really at this point is that the nature of the charges is, of course, serious enough across any level of them. And that frankly, if they were to just be dismissed, if they were just to be, well, no, we're not going to do that, I don't think that would be a good outcome for anyone involved, invested in these issues, or frankly for the country as a whole. These are serious enough, and if again there is enough evidence on either way of either towards the conviction of it or complete acquittal on it, that it needs to be fully adjudicated that way. So I think any shortcutting of that just doesn't make sense. It would not serve us or anyone particularly well. In terms of odds, yeah, that's such a crapshoot. I'm not even going to try to embark on that one because it doesn't even make sense to try and put it in this case here. Again, I'm more focused on the seriousness of it and what it means for us as a country here. To some of your earlier comments, yes, of course, we exist for free speech and to have conversation on it. Let's make a sharp distinction here, as I also did yesterday, in terms of cutting off between discussing ideas, discussing issues, and insulting people. Because, I mean, okay, name calling and what you very clearly like to do when it comes to certain people or groups of people anyway, give them nicknames or, derogatory names or things that you feel make them silly or put them in a bad light. I mean, as much as I'm not in favor of that, that horse is well out of the barn at this point. I don't think that's being, unfortunately, removed as much as I would like it to be out of our political discourse anytime soon. And I feel like if that was the hill I was going to stand on, I would then spend the rest of every show saying, no, you didn't say that right. That was unkind. And that's just moralizing or trying to say, no, you didn't talk about it right. It's so much claptrap and not focused then on the issues. So talking about the issues, particularly about the policies that certain people have in place, again, when we particularly talk about any elected officials on the ballot in our area as much as possible, as opposed to, oh, this guy's great or, oh, this guy sucks, like that kind of reasoning, I mean, it's pretty vapid, and I would hope that usually ends up showing through. But again, the idea of like saying, okay, hey, I disagree with you or you're wrong in this way. Again, the example you brought up in the comments of John, specifically from, again, now 2 shows ago, not trying to drag that back up here, but of saying that he disagrees with you and he doesn't like the method you're going about that, referring that to that as an attack on you. I mean, if you're going to be that thin-skinned about this, I'm wondering how long you've lasted in politics this way. And also, don't think I didn't notice well, they call it TDS, and I call them, you call them as cultists or mania or what kind of thing. That's not really answering the question. That's about that's not what I am. What are you kind of thing? I am rubber, you are glue type of argumentation that, again, I would hope gets pretty apparent as being it's not exactly a whataboutism, but yeah. And Willie Jenkins saying, yeah, that hill is gone. There is no hill to stand on there anymore when it comes to the name calling. So, I mean, again, I know people don't like it. It may not be, and it may be even, upsetting to certain people to hear people that they may otherwise like or otherwise dislike when it comes to politics being unhappy with it. But again, that's unfortunately the way our political discourse has been, though there's also historical arguments that that's the way it's always been. It's just louder and more constant these days. In any case, yes, here to discuss the issues. Clear that you don't like certain candidates, and of course we open ourselves up to things like this. I call this airstrike on myself each and every week because I still think it serves a purpose. But when it comes down to not talking about the ideas or even saying, okay, I disagree with you in certain ways, but of saying that, hey, you just suck, and I'm going to give you the worst names possible, imaginable, in order to justify saying just about anything with you. That's not even talking about the reasons you think they are wrong, and gets straight into, and we have had people even bring that up in response to things that have been said on this show of, hey, this would be actionable in terms of a lawsuit. And if there's any inkling that would therefore be, oh, well, that's just what we got to do on this show, let me make this perfectly clear right now. I have said it repeatedly and will continue to do so, that we do exist to have the discourse about the things going on and affecting us here in the borderland, Monday through Thursday, and then, of course, we open it up on Friday. But if we're thinking like it's going to be a hotbed of like, hey, I'm going to call so-and-so the worst name imaginable, or the worst one I can hope to come up with, and just think that'll be fine, and open us up to anything like that. I mean, there are lines, there are standards, obviously, certain language ones that the way we have our broadcast license to do this whole radio thing exists, and that we do have to keep in place. But if we're thinking to open ourselves up to that and that level of it, hey, that's not even discourse anymore. Thinking, well, I'm going to tell you that this is what you are because no one else will. That's not a justification. Let's make that perfectly clear. Again, I have not banned, well, there's one person we've had to ban from the show because all they were doing was swearing in the comments, among other things. But otherwise, we have not done that. We have certainly given timeouts, and at a certain point, we don't have hard and fast rules on that. But at a certain point, if something stops being a part of what we do here and what we want to be doing here, and even talking about this is a little bit infuriating, because you would think that certain things would be clear. But again, let's just lay this out right now. If you want to talk about ideas, if you want to respond to what people have said, if you just want to attack other people and say this person sucks, and not even talk about their ideas and why they are wrong and why those thoughts, why those concerns. And that's why, as much as I sometimes get called a liar in the comments by certain individuals, because I think it comes down to I'm not letting them say what they want to, because what they want to say ends up being something that is not actually the purpose of this program. Again, we don't have to say, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to, I mean, if you disagree with me, please let me know. That's what we're basically been founded upon. And so you can disagree with me, discuss the ideas, but if it just comes down into I am going to bury you under so much muck that you can't hope to see the light of day again, let me just dissuade you of that being a possibility on this program. So with that in mind, and I would also say it's kind of hilarious because the same accusation of too much time being given gets leveled at you quite often. But hey, we don't keep a timer in point, but if you're having a back and forth with me, again, I've made that clear. If you're actually having a discussion, tend to indulge that a little bit more, as we have this for quite a bit here, but we'll go ahead and take that. Appreciate the point in the call, and I do take criticism and do respond to it, and certainly we'll hope to continue doing that well into the future. So appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth on the ideas of these things, but let's go ahead and take that first break of this hour right now. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot more to come. Barely into the first part of this first hour, and we got 2 whole ones dedicated to this for Free for All Friday right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So, of course, that phone line's 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break. Ruli's International Kitchen back with their Rick at Night, R-I-K, as in Ruli's International Kitchen at night. The last time for August anyway, Friday and Saturday nights, 9 to 11, where they've got reverse happy hour specials. They have got specials on their wood fire pizzas, and including things like their famous double-baked wings, but a whole lot of other and many other features, specials, many things they are always working on, some menu revamps that I was checking out when I was just there yesterday, but always delicious and always a great time over there at Ruli's International Kitchen. Of course, find them not too far from Mesa and Executive at 4176 North Mesa, or of course online at rulisik.com. That's RULISIK.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at the loop in the Lower Valley, an earlier accident is off to the right, just some minor slowing there. I-10 westbound at Loma Land, an accident involving 4 vehicles, all vehicles off on the right shoulder. I-10 westbound at the Brown exit, an earlier crash that closed the off-ramp there. All lanes are back open. That crash is cleared. Police still working an injury accident eastbound Montwood Drive at Lee Trevino. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Dog days of summer got your business needing help? Check out Indeed, an all-in-one hiring solution that makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Trade up to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for thousands less. Right now, our prices are the best in town.
Get huge savings on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles and more for your trade. For a limited time, everyone gets employee pricing on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. Take $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 trucks or 2.9% APR for 72 months. Take $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Get $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Chrysler 300. Worried about your credit or worried that you're upside down on your trade? Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect or if you owe more than your trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This the Summer Sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Includes factory rebate dealer discount plus DTNL. 1.9% APR is $1,471 and 2.9% is $1,515 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th through 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest and modern guns, custom knives, scopes, huge selection of ammo, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th and 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-334-2266. That's 800-334-2266. 800-334-2266.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And a lot of comments coming in, particularly over on the social media. Facebook it's been one of the longest. Most people up there with us. They're more than 1,000 followers as of last check, and it stops giving you the specifics after that. But that's spread across however works for you. If you're able to see the show, if you want to see it, tune in, certainly, or participate to your level of satisfaction. That's the right place for you to be, as we, of course, continue our missions to have live local talk radio here in the borderland and talk about the things going on here. So, of those dropping those likes and reacts that we do appreciate, including Rick Reyes, John Browston, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Amos Lara, and Ida Beza Gardner. And, of course, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. They have their end of summer celebration as part of the finale for the Make This the Summer event. We can get up to no payments for 90 days, or get no payments for up to 90 days. That's the right way to say that one, and up to thousands of dollars of cash back for well-qualified buyers on many of their different models. So again, Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 950 Crockett Street, right across I-10 from Sunland Park Mall. Still Sunland Park Mall for the minute anyway. But so a lot of comments coming in, and we'll keep doing that here. Of course, those phone lines open if, well, okay, they're available if full at the moment. At least one question coming in, including a Rick Reyes asking, do I know if Mayor Lisa or Dean Margo running for mayor in 2025? If one of them runs for mayor, this is my opinion, Marco is going to have an uphill battle. I mean, it's always, okay, maybe not always, but certainly name recognition has a lot of political clout, at least just here in town. I mean, there was a dedicated advertising campaign to at least the name of some of these people existing for, I don't know, decades. I think that's pretty fair to say in some cases. I will say that the city of El Paso elections, there was the one that was up there. So see if I can, Marco's the only one I'm aware of having actually filed to end up running in that one. So be very curious to see if we got any of the other upcoming ones who has registered. So I don't know. It's possible, but that's one. Okay, I'll have to look at that at that next break to take a look at it because yeah, that's certainly possible. But some of those dates are still well far out. So I'm not aware of any other registrations. I think there was a couple of city council ones that were already up on that one. So okay, gonna give you the next break to try and look at that one there. So I have Amanda Monconda that likes the guitar among other things here. So I tell you what, if we ever one of those meetups, I'll tell you more about it because there's kind of a secret on it. But other questions, I mean, okay, the back and forth on taking calls here. I'm not going to try to be too navel gazing right now about how we take calls, but I again do take criticism, including, I mean, some people say things like RJ saying you take calls from everyone, and some shows will only take softball calls. My hat's off to you. And Louis Pinato saying on other ways that which is tolerated is multiplied, and referring to trolls in other ways. Like, I mean, I get it. There are differing opinions on this, but this is about the only way I can really figure out to make this work is to open it up and bring it on. I'm not saying that this is a repeatable model for particularly anyone else. I seem to get a perverse amount of enjoyment about taking on all of these subjects, so I'll keep doing it for the time being anyway, for the foreseeable future. Let me make that a little bit more permanent sounding. As we also have Marky Mandingo joining us over in the comments. Good afternoon to you as well. So let's dive right back into those phone lines right now. We do have Ben on the east side with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Raul, isn't it interesting that all of the indictments against Trump and all the January 6th defendants have all been brought in democratically controlled and democratic-friendly courts? Okay. I take it that Raul and Frankie, like the other liberals, have not watched the Tucker Carlson interview of Stephen's son, former Capitol Chief of Police during the January 6th insurrection. Are you guys afraid of what you might find out? What you might have been told by the legacy media and the January 6th House committee hearings was a lie? I challenge you once again to listen to the interview and give us your comments on what Stephen's son said. Okay? 3, Bidenomics. Just who is Bidenomics working for, Raul? When was the last time you heard someone say that they went and filled up their gas tank and they thought the price of gas was okay? When was the last time you talked to somebody that just went to the grocery store and said that it was a pleasant event? Bidenomics, people are now taking out loans. The common person is taking out loans to live because the dollar's value has been deflated away due to inflation. More loans are being restricted by financial institutions. Auto loan requests and credit card limit increase requests are at record highs, showing the financial concerns the general public is having in housing. The average home cost is going above $400,000. And mortgage rates are at 6.6%. To meet your monthly home payments, you would need to make a salary of $165,000. The Goldman Sachs Affordability Index is at the lowest level ever. If you want to buy a house, the average monthly payment would be $2,300 a month. Before COVID, it was $900 a month. I don't think this economy is working for the average American, no matter what Biden says. And I would like to hear from you guys about what you guys think about Biden's economic policies. I haven't heard anybody talking about defending any of this stuff. I hear you guys talking about how wonderful the stock market is, but is that actually a concern of the average American? I ask these things, Andrew. What do you think?
So specifically on the home price there, yeah, I'm seeing some of the numbers here out of the St. Louis Fed. Actually, they're putting at the most recent data from the average home. So not quite what you're talking about, but the average sales price of houses sold in the United States. So the ones actually being bought as having peaked very recently in, what was this, the last quarter of last year at $552,000. It's dipped down a little bit to be just now under $500,000 for quarter 2 of this year at $495 and change. So I mean, yeah, and whether or not that's totally blamable on one administration, also the whole phenomenon that we've been seeing that I experienced directly of, if for a house I didn't even own, the one we were renting, I got at least a dozen or so, probably more, because I didn't think to actually mark them down or record them. Probably should have. Of asking if I want to sell this house that I didn't own. So that's a significant factor there, but overall contributes to being getting to be well outside the bounds of a person. I mean, home ownership seems to be slipping away from the possibilities of a lot of people in this country, an increasing span of it there. And how that's going to work out is one of those mildly existential crises for the long run here. And I mean, may end up being that there is enough built to then level it out, but then there might be people saying, well, now home prices are falling. My investment is worth it's problems abound. On the whole idea of, spending at the grocery store, I've never been particularly happy unless I get something ridiculously on sale. And even then I should probably be questioning it if it's still a good thing or not to have, potted meat for 5 cents a can, which I may or may not have bought in bulk at one point in time. But yeah, prices have been going up. We still have some shortages and issues like that have been continuing on, which has led, at least in my family, for us to, if we see something and we know we like it, we tend to buy like an extended amount's worth. So, I mean, we've had still those supply side shocks and issues going into this. So I would say that, again, you want to blame it on this current administration. You want to say these are some of the factors from the previous one. The fact of the matter is that there still are a lot of people that are definitely hurting from this, or some of the things involving with, the underemployment phenomenon, where people are having to take on multiple jobs in order to get anywhere with it. And I've definitely been feeling stretched even myself when it comes to, is the dollar able to go as far as it was previously? And the short answer there is no. Now, of course, inflation is a fact of life basically ever since. You want to go to any particular point in time, getting off the gold standard, establishment of the Fed, or even, the establishment of a national bank as you go back to the founding of this country. But point is that things have gotten more expensive very rapidly. Home prices, going back to that one specifically, looking at a 26% rise by some of the Fed. Again, I want to say the St. Louis Fed, specifically tracking that since 2020, has been significant. And those impacts, I don't think we've truly begun to fully understand them or been able to respond to those as a society as of yet.
Indeed. Did you, Raul, have you heard that the data released late last month show food insecurity at its highest level since Biden took office? An average financial hardship in 2023 is worse than it was over the last 3 years. Bidenomics has been, and the president's economic plan has been accompanied by a humanitarian crisis. Not for him, not for all the people north of Virginia, or I can't remember what the name of the song was. Anyway,
Richmond, north of Richmond.
Richmond, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Richmond, north of Richmond, they're doing quite well. How about the average American? I don't think Biden has an idea what the average American is even, or his group of people that are running the country have any idea what the average American is going through right now. And I don't think you even know, Raul.
I mean, I'll leave that question to him and not try to put words in his mouth. But I will say that, I mean, there have been, positives in the market. There have been things that have been arguably going well, though I've always I've had, well, on the market specifically, I've always had an issue with that being used as a shorthand for the power of the economy and how it's working out for everyone, because a subsidiary phrase that I've thought about that is the market going up means my boss gets a new car. The market going down means I lose my job. So that kind of a consideration is not exactly, again, using that as a benchmark for how well is everything going for everyone. It doesn't quite bear out that well.
You just said that some parts of the economy are working well. What parts of the economy is working well?
Again, the market is the best one I can think to point to at this point.
The market doesn't affect the average individual in the United States. What
Exactly.
part of the economy is working well for the average American, the person that actually, has 2 kids, 2 or 3 kids, and has to put food on the table?
I mean, yeah, the divide, and that's one of the, I guess, the key concerns for me anyway, is about, I mean, if economic prosperity is being touted, is it being something that is actually reaching to all segments, or are we looking at increased stratification where those, I mean, the phrase, rich get rich, poor get poor, as that's still the phrase, or even just accelerating that, and how is that going to work out in the long run?
For the average individual, how does that work out for the average individual? For people that are retired, have income coming in, they're doing fairly well. There's people that are making a lot of still people who are making a lot of money. But how about the average American? Raul, how is the average American doing?
And that is, I think, I mean, as we're getting closer to these elections, with, again, that debate this week, among other things, the question that it should be the most pervasive one for any campaign is, well, at least the statement more closely, it's the economy, stupid, and anything missing that point is probably not going to be on any of those stages much longer.
And can I bring up one more thing?
Briefly,
Raul,
if you can.
Do you really believe in free speech? Oftentimes you rant about Alex Jones and how wonderful it was that he was fined $1 billion for a verdict against him, for him speaking what he thought was going on in a school. Is that free speech? I believe it is. I have a right to my opinion.
Sure.
And Alex Jones has a right to his opinion. But it was brought in, but the court is saying that he doesn't have a right to his opinion. I think there's a problem with that. And that's an extreme example, but what is good for bad speech is more free speech.
Fair enough. I'll agree with you there, certainly on principle.
Like Ramaswamy said the other day.
All right. Well, do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay. Stay well. Stay safe. God bless. And you know about it. Let's go, Brandon.
Again, interesting implications from that recently. You have a good one there and a good weekend as well. So with that, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. I'll just say on the Alex Jones thing that technically that was part of civil court. And okay, you want to be strict about it. Yes, the First Amendment does protects free speech from government interference. I actually did have it be a circumstance, not too directly with me, but some colleagues at the time, back in my student newspaper days, about there being saying the administration saying, no, you're not able to do that. And then debates about free speech coming up, and the First Amendment in that case, in that situation, not applying because it was not the government preventing speech. And also, I mean, the whole response to it here, let's just say I've drawn this distinction already in this program and in recent previous ones. There's a difference between saying what you think and holding your own opinion, and then libel and slander. I'm just going to put it that way. Let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll take more of the calls, more of the comments, more of everything we got and do on the line here. So again, if you want to get on that line, lines are available. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has served El Paso with superior service and superior protection with their licensed, trained installers and security experts able to provide these security needs however you may need them, be at home, at the office, anywhere in or between that you need to keep things safe and secure. And so you can trust them since 1982, and you can afford the best. You can get systems starting at under $35 per month with upfront purchases to lease options and $0 down payment packages available, which of course also means that no job is too small or too large for them. So to get your free estimate and find out what they can do for you and providing that safety and security and peace of mind, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. The Mexican pop group Rebelde will kick off their world tour tonight at the Sun Bowl, and fans are already lining up for what will be the second stadium show in as many weeks at the Sun Bowl. Last week, Def Leppard and Motley Crue performed. Tonight, it's Rebelde, which is touring 10 stadiums and 16 arenas. The group has been in town for a few days and rehearsed last night, but tonight, expect heavy traffic and delays if you're traveling around the Sun Bowl area and UTEP campus, as a crowd of tens of thousands is expected. The Isleta School District plans to sell 2 vacant schools. The school board made that decision on Wednesday. The board said the properties were surplus and authorized the superintendent to get a real estate broker to sell the 2 properties. Those schools are Ramona Elementary on Nichols Road in the Lower Valley and Del Norte Heights Elementary on Winslow, which was closed and moved to Sageland Elementary School. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
El Paso police say there's an accident. I-10 westbound at Yarborough is off to the right and causing some slowing back up to Lee Trevino. I-10 eastbound, an earlier crash at the loop in the Lower Valley has cleared. All lanes are back open. Slow traffic I-10 eastbound, Vincent to Red is a 12-minute delay, and 5-minute delays on North Mesa Street downtown up to North Desert. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, we're in for a warm weekend here in the borderland. Temperatures are going to be in those 90s. We'll see a little bit of clouds in the sky. We're also going to see those lows in those 70s as we head on into the weekend. As we make our way into next week, those rain chances will start coming back. Starting on Monday, we'll see about a 20% chance for rain. Head on over to kfoxtv.com for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Fall into autumn hiring with Indeed. Their all-in-one solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org. Keep your family and livelihood safe with Mazer Security Alarms. Systems start at under $35 per month. No job is too small or too large. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033.
Staples has everything you need for the office and the classroom for less. Now save even more with $50 off your print and marketing services order of $150 or more. Offer ends 8/26. Visit staples.com/print for details. Save for your business at Staples. This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Texas Mutual Insurance Company is bringing their WorkSafe Texas Summit to the El Paso area on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso, bringing safety and compliance information that can help employers protect their workers. It's a free 2.5-hour event with free breakfast, and parking validation will be provided. There will be 2 interactive Q&A sessions with safety experts, including an OSHA information panel discussion and workplace safety panel discussion, including helpful resources and safety materials, plus networking opportunities with other business owners and safety professionals. So space is limited, so make sure to register by September 12th, coming up here before too long at texasmutual.com/summit. That's texasmutual.com/SUMMIT. And that WorkSafe Texas Summit Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. I do appreciate those tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents, dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly do appreciate it, as it does help us with all those algorithmic things. I mean, that's primarily the Facebook. So if you're not on there, no hard feelings by any means, but do appreciate it if you can, including, of course, James Radcliffe, Rick Reyes, John Brazelton, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Amos Lara, Ida Beza Gardner, and Buddy Valles, because, hey, we appreciate the ability to talk about these things, because, yeah, no one else is going to talk about them in our area like we are, the people who are here, among other things. And Abel Rodriguez also chiming in with us there, has announcing his arrival. Not quite a airport, but hey, I appreciate y'all chiming in. But in any case, one comment I want to just before we dip back into those phone lines right now before the end of this first hour. Don't worry, another hour to go here, even though we're zipping right through this one. Pat Mack saying, interesting show today. Do need to make a correction on the stock market, though. It's not doing good under Biden, so disagreeing with me there. But him going on to say, it has increased only 15% during his time in office. At the same time, point in time, Trump's term, it had increased 35% and 50% in Obama's term. 3 years into Biden's term, my 401k is still $200K less than it was when Biden started. So no, there is no part of the Biden economy that is working. I mean, as I've also said previously, your mileage may vary, but using, okay, this is a microcosm example, but I often try to look at like the S&P 500, which, you know, February of 2020 was doing a volume of, let's call it 3,300 and change, and then plummeted down to 2,300 and change. As of the last estimate, according to the Googles, we're at 4,405, and over the last 5 years, it has gone up about 50%, and in the last year, that was up about 8.5%, give or take, after having seen a low in about third, fourth quarter, somewhere in between of last year. So, I mean, again, it's a good example, microcosm of, you know, how things are doing. Companies for the most part, but again, to ignore the stratification between essentially the investor class and everyone else as thinking as though so everyone's doing fine, right? Is not a good way to do that. Another phrase that comes to mind besides the whole, you know, economy going or markets going up and down is, you know, a recession is when your neighbor loses their job. A recession is when you lose yours. I will say fair is fair. Buddy Valles mentioning that most businesses that you find these days have help wanted signs, but if they're enough to attract the workforce as it exists is another question entirely. I mean, there's a level of some wage increase that's been lagging behind the markets as well, the average wage, but it's a whole lot of measures we can get into there. But let's get back into and on the phone lines as well. So we got at least getting close to the end of this one. We do have Frankie Massey on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Woohoo! It's Friday. It's bittersweet because end of the week, and I got to wait all the way to Monday. So let me say something.
Sure.
Somebody said that ad hominem. I find nothing wrong with ad hominem. If it's properly used judiciously with appropriate tenor, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I'll give you a perfect example. I shouldn't give you a right example because that person is a stupid user of ad hominem, and it's the guy that follows you, and his name is Mark Levin, a.k.a. Mark Looney Bin. You see how easy it is to use ad hominems? Number two, I heard befuddled Ben. I have to come up with a different ad hominem for you, befuddled Ben, because you're going off the deep end. I don't know where you're coming from. You're saying the average American average? Is that what you're saying, Ben? Because let me tell you something. You got this famous girl. She's blonde. She's a singer. I think her name is Tamari Swipe or something like that. You know, and you
Taylor
got
Swift, perhaps?
Guy, Jacob Albean. And guess what, Ben? They're paying $200 a ticket to go listen to some gal and some guy sing a song. So if that's the case, Ben, and eggs are so expensive, gas is so expensive, electric is so expensive, and everything else, where are they coming up with this money? Give me a break. And my last, for my opening rant here, that was such a great photo of the Donnie Dotard looking like such a typical jerk he is. But I'm going to say something. I know it. I'll bet you I looked at my checkbook. I got $1,000 to bet. Barbara that she has already purchased the coffee mug, the T-shirt, the pens, and she probably even got a blow-up picture of that thing hanging at the end of her bed. What do you think of them apples? That's my opening comment.
Yeah, I will say that I think you're referring to Taylor Swift there. Her Eras tours, which has pulled in quite a lot of money, I think in the $2 billion range for one tour, which is literally, I do believe in the one stop she had in Southeast Asia, Singapore or thereabouts. It literally caused an increase in inflation in that portion of the regional economy because of that, even though the tickets can range from $50 to about $500. I've heard of some tickets, and particularly on resale, going for literal thousands. So that's outside of my price range. I'll say that absolutely. And on the mugshot here, listen, at least he didn't smile. There were some that smiles, and you never smile in a mugshot. It never is a good idea. And also, just as a subsidiary of what you're talking about, I am aware of there being a bobblehead that's already out as well, or available for pre-purchase. No, I'm not going to say where because we're not promoting them. I'm just saying there's a lot going on in that one here. But to the idea of the average person, I mean, I'm aware of at least, okay, average is, of course, never an actual person. There is no one person that, yes, that person is the average. It's a conglomerate because there are people that, okay, not that tour. I want to say it was some other famous artist that the name would be recognizable, that he sold his house in order to be able to finance tickets. So there's always going to be, as you would say, weirdos out there doing weird things that the rest of us would be at least looking sideways at.
Now, wait a minute here, Andrew. Hold on. Time out a minute. Going back to Buffalo Ben, the average person. Now, the average person, right, wrong, or indifferent, likes to go out and listen to some, high-powered singer or entertainer. And wait a minute. If they could come up with $500 a ticket, and then you, meaning not you, Ben, comes out and said the average American is suffering the stock market and everything else he said, yet they could come up with $500 to go to some stupid concert and stand out there in a crush of sweaty, stinky people and listen to some gal sing while she's just laughing her derriere off, going to the bank with all this money. Give me a break. What do you think of that?
Again, I wouldn't necessarily, okay, if I had tickets to the Taylor Swift concert, I would go. I am not going to particularly try to purchase them, including not going anywhere near us, but I'll agree with Monica Cervantes saying her concerts are crazy elaborate. I mean, it sounds like quite the event, but I'll say that just it's not my particular interest, and even looking at some of the upcoming Mexico tour dates, all of the tickets are already sold out, so the resale market on those has been nuts. But again, wouldn't necessarily say that this is a average type situation, as it is maybe more of a very dedicated. I mean, she has quite developed an audience that is, I mean, people may like her music, but it's another thing entirely to then try to actually go out and see it.
Well, again, I mean, you can slice and dice this thing 14 different ways a Sunday. All I'm saying, when Ben gets out there and he goes off his rant and says the economy is this, the economy is that, and supposedly the Donnie Dotard doofus had the greatest economy in the world, and Joe Biden is just wrecking everything. How can this possibly be if people got $500 to pay for a ticket? Give it up, Ben, for crying out loud. Hey, remember something, Ben. Did you ever look up what Rex Tillerson said about your glorious orange turd-faced dork? Huh? That's what I want to say about that, too. Yeah, one last thing here. Well, I've got so many things to say, but I only got a limited amount of time. This Donnie Dotard and the rest of his acolytes, his troglodyte dorks that have already been booked and arrested, or whatever the heck it is, they're going down the tube. And this is not going to end well for the Donnie Dotard. He is going to be in Guantanamo Bay. And one last thing. Ben, you need to hold hands with Barbara, stand on a precipice, and do the same thing that Thelma and Louise did near the end of the movie. And that's the end of my comment.
Fair enough. Well, we got into taking that next break right now, so appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, Andrew, take care.
And with that, we got to take that break right now, right up against that top of the hour here. So stay tuned. We're talking Paso after this break. Again, that number 915-544-5876. Back at the top of the hour news, folks. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
All lanes are back open on the I-10 westbound at Yarborough after an accident that's off to the right. I-10 westbound is slow in a couple of spots. And I-10 west from Mesa up past Trans Mountain is a 15-minute delay. You're looking at a 22-minute delay I-10 eastbound from Vinton down to Red. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Fall into autumn hiring with Indeed. Their all-in-one solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest men's grooming destination with your comfort and privacy in mind, and where your favorite brew, spirit, or mixed drink will be waiting for you along with every cut, shave, manicure, or pedicure visit. Open daily at the fountains at Farrah, Hammer and Nails offers world-class luxury experiences without the pretentious price tag. Visit Hammer and Nails Grooming Shop for Guys online at hammerandnailsgrooming.com to book your next experience. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com.
Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement, valid through 8/30. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Former President Trump could be headed back to Georgia soon after surrendering at the Fulton County Jail yesterday. Unlike his other cases, Fulton County does not arraign a defendant on the same day they're booked and processed at the jail. Atlanta prosecutors are pushing for the arraignment to happen the week of September 5th, and Trump may be required once again to appear in person. The Trump campaign is now selling T-shirts with the former president's mugshot. He became the first former U.S. president to have a mugshot taken last night. Trump and 18 co-defendants face charges over alleged efforts to overturn the state's 2020 election. Nearly 400 people are still missing after the Maui wildfires. That's updated from the over 1,000 the FBI estimated were missing Tuesday. The death toll from the blaze stands at 115. Wall Street is closing higher to end the week. Natalie Migliori reports.
Stocks rallied in volatile trading after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speech. Powell noted stronger than expected economic growth, but gave no clear indication on the future of interest rates. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 247 points, the S&P 500 added 29 points, and the NASDAQ rose 126 points. I'm Natalie Migliori.
The Republican National Committee is bringing the 2028 National Convention to Houston.
I have no doubt that they will put together one of the best conventions that the entire country has ever seen.
RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel says that choosing Texas is part of their goal to attract more Hispanic voters. Mental health spending is up since the start of the pandemic. A study of insurance claims published Friday in JAMA Health Forum found spending jumped 54% between March 2020 and August 2022. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance at $1,000 and a trip to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Yeah! Text the nationwide keyword Vegas to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's Vegas to 200-200.
Get ready to win your way to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival and $1,000.
You'll be there. T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas, September 22nd and 23rd.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance knows that opening a small business is a great achievement. Thanks to all the owners for all they do to keep our communities vibrant and strong. Learn more about the Hartford Small Business Insurance and why over 1 million small business owners trust them. Visit thehartford.com/small business.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Fall into autumn hiring with Indeed. Their all-in-one solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th through 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest and modern guns, custom knives, scopes, huge selection of ammo, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th and 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Mexico. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Trade up to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for thousands less. Right now, our prices are the best in town.
Get huge savings on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles and more for your trade. For a limited time, everyone gets employee pricing on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. Take $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 trucks or 2.9% APR for 72 months. Take $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Get $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Chrysler 300. Worried about your credit or worried that you're upside down in your trade? Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect or if you owe more than your trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This the Summer Sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus GTNL. 1.9% APR is $1,471 and 2.9% is $1,515 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and protection. Locally owned and operated, Mazer Security Alarms created Super Switch technology to prevent false alarms and keep your business and family safe. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is coming back to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas this September.
Superstar artists from every genre.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Buy tickets now at AXS.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, whichever one works out best for you to see the show, be able to chime in if you so choose to do so, as well as, participate to your level of satisfaction. And to that point, a lot of comments coming in. Phone lines open if full up at the moment, but keep that number handy, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in. You often lose track of them, but let's just say they'll drop in those likes and reacts that we do appreciate, including Abel Rodriguez, Angel Rueda, Sean Gardner, Buddy Bias, James Radcliffe, Rick Reyes, John Browselton, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Amos Lara, and Ida Beza Gardner. A lot of different comments about, including justification or foundations behind minimum wage, degrees and careers. She's just so much. And also what I was talking about right before the break, as we were right up against the top of the hour there, the bros prices are the ticket prices, the for sale prices, the from the venue prices for that era's Taylor Swift tour, but the resale prices are, well, to each one of those that I mentioned, add a zero to it. Yeah, about 10 times as much is what they seem to be going for in the resale market, which is why, among other things, people may recall that there was at the very least being very unhappy with, and maybe even that potential investigation into some of the sellers or resellers for deceptive practices or gouging, like a whole lot of things. It's not great and not a fun thing. And also, at least one other person sending me something about the idea of a new recommendation coming out to being only 2 drinks a week. Let me just say allusions to lead balloons, and no, I'm not talking about Led Zeppelin, come from that one as well. Anyway, let's get back to those phone lines now. Again, full up at the moment, but we'll squeeze in all that we can throughout the second hour of the program here. And so, start us off, we do have Conrad in Horizon City on the line with us here right now. Conrad, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey
Thanks
there.
for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I started listening to your show probably about 6 months before I left Dallas to move out here
Okay.
to El Paso.
Excellent. Well, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I love El Paso. I came out here primarily because I wanted a lower cost of living. Well, primarily I love the Southwest, and I originally wanted to live in Arizona, but I thought to myself, I want to stay in Texas because, no state income tax here.
Sure.
So I chose El Paso. I love waking up and running in the desert every morning. I'm a lifelong runner, so that's the thing. You've probably seen that I complain about loose dogs. That's the one big issue I have out here.
Mm-hmm.
But really, one of the big impetuses, the thing that really drove me out of Dallas was the high property taxes I was paying.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the rates are probably lower over there than they are here, but home values are so much lower out here.
Sure.
That it made sense to me, and there's still relatively lower cost of living compared to Dallas. But I want your listeners to be aware and to get more involved. I think there seems to be kind of an apathy that I've noticed here in El Paso.
Okay.
People need to start attending these meetings. There's a meeting this upcoming Monday, and I want people to consider something. 4 commissioners are looking at a 16% pay raise from $115,000 to $133,000 annually. And the county judge, what is his? How do you pronounce his last name? Samaniego? Is that
Samaniego?
How it's, okay, yeah, he's looking at his current salary, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, $131,000 right now.
That sounds about the right range. Let me pull up the exact numbers here, but that sounds about right.
And I think the proposal 16% would get him up to like over 152, somewhere around there. And meanwhile, the annual median income, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, for an El Paso County household is around $48,000.
That, again, not on the exact numbers in front of me, but that sounds about the right range.
Right. And so, this proposed increase would be from 42 cents per $100 of assessed value, would increase to about 46 cents per $100 of assessed value. And so what that would amount to, for an average $182,000 home, I think it would be another $104 or so. But, there might be value, of course, depending on the home value, it could equate to hundreds of dollars.
Sure.
And so I'm just kind of wondering, which salary, a 6-figure salary, or these much lower numbers for the median annual income, would be able to absorb that kind of increased burden. I just don't think it doesn't seem fair considering the inflation that we're currently experiencing. Everything is more expensive. And I mean, I went to Walmart today, just buying a few items cost me, $30.
Yeah. I used to think like, get a nice cart full of food and it would be a reasonable cost. And it makes me feel really old, like back in my day kind of things, but it wasn't even that long ago that it used to be that you were able to get a reasonable amount for, a couple $100, and, last on as long as you're not buying, super high end, expensive, or just, being smart about it. But even being smart these days, I feel like there's no good way to budget your way around it.
Yeah, exactly. And people have kids and they have, medical issues, $4. I mean, we're nearing $4 a gallon in gas, what I've been seeing around at these gas stations. And
yep.
I just think it's tone deaf at this point to raise the rate. Even if it equates to only an extra $100 of added, tax burden, it's still, that's $100 that could make or break a family, right? I mean, kids need clothes for school. I don't have any kids, but I can imagine that families that have all these responsibilities. And so these same people that are going to ultimately complain, I see it on Nextdoor and different social media forums,
Sure.
are not attending these meetings. And you can do it telephonically now. I mean, you can do it on webcam or even just call in and voice your comment. And I think only one person spoke up at last Monday's meeting. And so I want to try to use this as an opportunity calling in just so your listeners understand and they go ahead and sign up for the comments. And I don't know if you have the information maybe from your affiliate station about how to sign up for public comment, but I can drop in the link on the YouTube comments or however, would be helpful. But I think people need to go ahead and sign up. It's not going to take that much. I think it's at 5:30 on Monday. And you correct me if I'm wrong on that one too, but I'm definitely going to voice my opinion. And I would hope that all El Paso County homeowners would chime in on this.
Would certainly agree with you on that there. And but people, I mean, I'm always in favor of people being more involved, be a more part of things here, though I also fully understand, particularly, some of these meetings start. I mean, when I was covering Commissioners Court more directly and more consistently every week, I mean, they start in the morning during the workday. So, I mean, there are more available ways to, and people can always go back and review it. I will say that, our news partners over at KFOX 14, they do have some of that information, and they do have the link over on their story that we'll go ahead and post up the link over on the social media, particularly on the Facebook, and we'll see if we can share that on the other ones as well, to where you can sign up for the public comment, or actually, I think the URL isn't too egregious. It's epcounty.com/public-comment.htm.
Exactly.
So it's okay. Just go to the epcounty.com website and you should and look for the public comment area to be able to send that and look for that. They do stream it online, among other things, but they also have on the story from our news partners at KFOX 14 the commissioner's contact information, as well as some of the senior staff and policy advisors for the county judge and all of them. And to answer your specific question, looking specifically at the reporting from El Paso Matters on this, yes, the county judge current salary $131,000 a year and change, and with under the proposal would go up to $152,000, nearly $153,000. Commissioners, so the others ones on that body, make just shy of $115,000 a year currently, and under this plan would go up to about $133,500 a year.
Yeah, and that's more than enough to absorb the increased tax burden for them. But I mean, for the average El Paso citizen, resident, they're not working with those numbers. And I just really want people to understand that even if to them maybe it doesn't seem like that much money, it snowballs over the years, give an inch, take a mile type thing. If you give them an inch, they're going to take more and more. And I suspect that with the recent passing of the state legislation to increase the homestead exemption, as well as I think decrease the ISD tax rates, I think they're using that as an excuse to, hey, we should go ahead and raise our rates. I mean, they're getting a tax break anyway, so let's go ahead and use this as an excuse to raise the rate. I mean, that's just my opinion. That's just my theory. I don't know if that's true or not, but I suspect that may be playing, something into it.
I will say, I mean, I don't think that's been any public statements, though. What has been noted by county commissioners, particularly those that voted for it, was Commissioner Elian Holguin was the only one to vote against the inclusion of that. Right. Though there's still more discussion and possibility. Would certainly encourage people to read the full stories, both again from our news partners at KFOX 14 and El Paso Matters is the other one I'd point people towards. But it was noted that, among other things, in recent years, county commissioners, they did a no new revenue tax rate, among other things, and foregoed previous increases of it. And the way that's, again, agree with it or not, the way that county commissioners or the county government overall has done the analysis of pay has been with other major counties in Texas and keeping it at 80% of those levels and saying that it's now well below that amount with how it stands now. So bringing it more in line. That's the argument anyway. Agree with it or not.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I don't know how many of their constituents are getting a 16% increase to their incomes. So that would be my counter argument to them. And so, again, people are hurting. And I think that, this would just be kind of a kicking somebody who's already on the ground when you've got a privilege of a 6-figure salary, when your constituents don't. And so that's just my opinion there. But I again wanted to thank you for this opportunity. And, like I said, I started listening to your show. I think you're very well balanced. you're level-headed. You don't just sway one side or the other. I don't know what Eric and Raul are trying to do. I think they're just trying to pick fights with anybody they can, to be honest. But I think you do a great job, and thanks again.
Well, appreciate the point in the call and the feedback there. Certainly, you have a good one there.
All right, you too. Thanks, Andrew. Bye.
Appreciate it. Again, and with that, we'll go and have to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we have a lot of conversation, a lot more things going on. The comments I have lost complete track of, I will be perfectly honest with you, but we'll try to pick up some of those as well. So let's go and take that break and get back with more calls on the line there. And again, that number, of course, to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Hammer and nails, the not so great secret. I mean, it's great, but not a secret when it comes to dealing with all of your men's grooming needs here in the Borderland region. One of the newest options, and I would definitely argue the greatest. I mean, what you see over on our live stream, direct result of what they've been able to provide me with hair, beard, facial services. I mean, all of the things are pretty great. Going through the menu of them myself, including next time, looking forward to getting close to doing their 24K cut Lux experience, because they do have their memberships, and the Club Lux is their premier one that offers for one monthly price unlimited services, and can even bring a friend along with you there, and discounts and a whole lot more, plus a whole lot more perks. But you can find them online and just book your next service. Try them out, because you're greeted right at the door with your favorite drink, brew, cocktail of choice, and it is truly, regardless of how you do it, a Lux experience. So find them online, certainly at hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com, or just find them there over at the Fountains and Farrah, lower level, 8889 at Gateway Boulevard, Suite 1760, and I'll see you there.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash reported southbound Mesa Street after Donovan Drive. I-10 eastbound is slow, Vincent to Red, 11-minute delays. 10-minute delays I-10 westbound from Hawkins to the Patriot, and from Mesa up to Trans Mountain. That's another 10-minute delay. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to now.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Trade up to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for thousands less. Right now, our prices are the best in town.
Get huge savings on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles and more for your trade. For a limited time, everyone gets employee pricing on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. Take $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 trucks, or 2.9% APR for 72 months. Take $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Get $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Chrysler 300. Worried about your credit, or worried that you're upside down on your trade? Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect, or if you owe more than your trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This the Summer Sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus DTNL. 1.9% APR is $1,471, and 2.9% is $1,515 per thousand finance on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Staples has big savings on everything for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on tech for the classroom or your business with up to $250 off select computers. And save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples Print and Marketing Services. Plus, right now at Staples, you can save even more with $50 off your print order of $150 or more. Get everything for the office and the classroom for less at Staples. Print offer ends 8/26. Visit staples.com/print for details. Tech offer ends 9/16. In-store only. See associate for details.
Ask Sherwin-Williams and get 35% off Emerald products and Super Deck stains August 25th through the 28th. That means 35% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 35% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
It's The Woody Show.
Rover's Morning Glory.
The Rod Ryan Show.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
Everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. On your favorite superstars.
We are 30 Seconds to Mars.
This is Alex from All Time Low. Download the iHeartRadio app today. Free has never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the program because, well, of course, it's Friday. Free-for-all Friday. Still keeping that going and doing what I do at the very least consistently enough to talk about all the things going on, both not even just in and around the borderland, but everything y'all got going on. Did manage to post that link up to the article from our news partners at KFOX 14 with some of the information about that upcoming Monday meeting with county commissioners. So if you want to find out anything of that, check it out over on our social media or just go and find them there. Again, the article entitled El Paso County Commissioners to Decide on New Tax Rate Amid Potential 60% Salary Increase Controversy. So check that one out there if you're wanting to find out about that, or again, just all the details there in particular. So that's some of what's going on there. But also, at least one question I realized I hadn't answered from previous in the program, we addressed that here briefly, is that when it comes to elections for the city of El Paso, there is still only, at least according to the city of El Paso's website, when it comes to those that have registered, there is one, Marco Contreras, that has registered to run for mayor. There are 3 representatives who already registered for the city representative District 4 seat of Dorothy Bird, Joel Molinar, and Wesley Lawrence. Some familiar names there, but that's all that's on the site as of yet. So I don't know if it's been updated or when the last time it was, but so there were some questions about who may or may not be running for mayor. But again, still taking those phone calls, and it's a whole lot of conversation going on over online, but that is what that is and how that works. But let's dive back into the phone calls right now. We do have Jesse in Central on the line with us here right now. Jesse, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm calling about thank you for allowing me to talk.
Sure.
I'm calling about the race for county.
Oh, sure.
What about El Paso? The city council members, they're getting about $45,000, which is nothing, in my opinion. They should be getting paid more. Is the county special compared to the city council?
Okay. Maybe not in the way you're meaning it, but in the ways they are governed. The short answer is yes. The way that pay increases are dealt with, the county does approve their own, whereas the city, by the city charter, previously it was that each individual increase had to be voted on by voters, and then I wouldn't say they circumvented that, but we still had, I want to say in recent years, like within the last decade or so, the salaries were at in the $20,000 per range. So the way it's worked now, and this was voted on by voters, so I'm not accusing of any circumvention or anything like that, just a change in the formula where now it's pegged to that median household income in El Paso. So you want to get down to brass tacks, that's the basic level difference.
Yeah, okay, basic. And also the other part about city council, we still have a $7.35 minimum wage. Who in El Paso pays $7.35? Tell me.
No, I'm sure there are some there, particularly some of those, maybe not the ones that are still having the help wanted signs here, but I'm aware a lot of them still end up saying, starting minimum wage. Whether or not that's still viable at this point, I feel like I see for most of the stuff, at the very least, a lot of the ones that say city council or county commissioners, any of these partnerships that were looking to bring in businesses, there was a lot of $10 an hour. So I don't have a good breakdown of the total amount of salaries, though. I have an inclination that maybe $10 an hour is more common, at least these days. It probably, at the very least, is a starting salary or wage.
Exactly. And the other thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, but either way, when the contract they provide to the city, to contractors like security and other places, they go for the lowest bidder. It's like the city doesn't want to pay enough. They didn't want to pay the contractors for the services.
That's true. I do think that there are some requirements via law because, if it's a metric, right? Saying okay, they are certified to provide the service, because if they can't even do the job, that's one thing. But otherwise, I think it does bring up questions of, okay, but how are you deciding that these people are going to be better suited than that if it's not going to be the lowest cost? So, I mean, I get what you're saying. And what is it? There's a story about some of the old astronauts, like in some of the Apollo programs, being excited to launch, and at least one person saying, remember, everything around you was built by the lowest bidder. So there's definitely a debate to be had on the way that works, but I also don't know if, corruption and other implications would come up pretty quickly with almost any other method, I would have to imagine.
Right. And the thing is that, we lost an employee. It cost us, or they got rid of an employee, city manager, and it cost us close to $1 million. Can you imagine what it could have done with that money for raises, for the contractors, for city council?
Yeah, I mean, that would have paid for all of city council's salaries for quite a few years. So, I mean, perspective in the way it's dealt with, I mean, we'll see how this next city manager search ends up going. And I have to at least assume there's going to be at least a little bit of hesitation about getting anywhere near that kind of a salary again, but we will see.
Yeah, like I said, I still think, in my opinion, city council is underpaid, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, well,
unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Yeah, likewise. Bye.
I mean, yeah, I've again said, I think I said earlier this week, and I've said previously, think about all the skills, experiences, techniques, competencies to be brought to an office, and you put that on a list, and then consider what it would cost to bring someone like that. Are we meeting it? And again, there is, one question that also did come up. I do know that city council is still considered a part-time job. I mean, there have literally been city council members that have had other full-time employment. It's not the most current example I know, but Dr. No was literally, I believe he was an OBGYN, if I'm not mistaken on that. And I often had done interviews or been the ones filming it in his office ahead of city council meetings. One question that came up, I'm missing who asked it exactly, but along the lines of, it was Barbara Carrasco asking, is county commissioner position a full-time position? I do believe, I haven't seen it explicitly put out there, but at the very least, looking at the compensation, I would have to assume the answer is yes. So if anyone knows of otherwise, I would love to know. Anyway, I think we have time for at least one more call. Let's take one more call this segment. We still got a lot more calls coming in through the rest of the hour here. Right now, we do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. NBC legal experts were saying that the type of gun charge that was brought against Hunter Biden is rarely prosecuted.
Okay, and that one, I was looking more at the tax stuff recently. What was that one again?
Possession of firearm by prohibited individual.
Oh, yes, and that's more more towards the the way it's previously been prosecuted, at least that I'm aware of, tends to be more towards the idea of people who have been have lost those rights due to previous criminal activity.
True, but there's actually two laws that have been broken. One, like I said, the possession of firearm by a prohibited person, and lying on the 4473.
Yeah, and so that one, the form that anyone who has ever purchased a firearm through an FFL dealer would have been filled out. It's the one that has the list of yes and no questions, including are you a fugitive from justice, and and I guess the updates to it, including about are you addicted to any illicit substances and marijuana specifically. So yeah, those are certainly important questions.
Yes. Well, each one of them carries a potential 10 years max in the federal pen. But Andrew, it goes to show what I've said on your program in the past. We need to enforce existing laws. Okay. And prime example, we don't need to be spending taxpayer money on ridiculous and ineffective buyback programs.
Was having a conversation about that today, actually, and how it's an interesting one. And I mean, again, I get the people wanting to do something and feel like something is being done. But I mean, questions that were brought up in county commissioners court itself by commissioners was, is this an effective way to do it? Or does it end up being more of a feel good, got to do something kind of moment?
The latter, Andrew, the latter.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have certain opinions on it. If people are, for the individual, if someone's saying like, I got this thing that I don't know how to deal with it, I don't necessarily blame someone for, as opposed to just disposing of it, taking to authorities wanting to get something for it. Though, again, I don't think what the purpose behind it is. I mean, a little bit more clarity has come out since we originally started talking about it, about some of the intentionality behind it, about specifically a lot of references to what happened at Cielo Vista Mall within the last year or so, where there was implications toward youth in general, I think has been what has been coming forth as the idea of it. And you know what? Maybe it'll have an effect in that way. Will it be the most effective, though? That's certainly up for debate in my mind.
Well, you're never going to get the guns away from the intended people. But on the next point, Andrew, okay, Hunter Biden, okay,
sure.
This guy is attending state dinners with DOJ individuals while being the subject of an investigation. He's also going on vacation, flying around with Daddy on Air Force One. Possibly, is it taxpayer expense?
I mean, Air Force One, I do believe there's no way for that to not be taxpayer expense.
Right. Well, and your callers have been talking about inflation. Well,
sure.
Biden does not give a rat's butt about the taxpayer. Hey, he's bragged about having a freezer full of chocolate chip ice cream.
It seems to be a similarity between a couple of previous administrations, a weird focus on ice cream, and I don't know if it's probably not a great thing, but let's just say that the disconnection of any particular administration from both their constituents and the public at large is very much at their own peril, and I think a lot of particularly dissatisfaction with this and the previous one could be read in a very similar type of situation of, are you truly responding, understanding, dealing with it? I mean, the buck stops here, what have you done for me lately kind of mentality is, I wouldn't put it necessarily all the way up to it's the economy stupid, but pretty maybe close on its heels.
Well, I can tell you this much. I know the economy is bad when my Oreo cookies are now close to $5 a package.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I mean, any individual market, the whole, CPI, Consumer Price Index, the market basket of goods. I don't know if Oreos are in there. They probably should be, or something like them. But point is that it's not, I mean, it may have slowed, but it's not coming down and probably will never come down. So I still hate the phrase the new normal in all the ways that it implies. But I mean, this is the reality we have to face these days.
True. One last point concerning Frankie. He's talking about ad hominem. Yeah, and I'm guilty of throwing a few ad hominem attacks. But
sure.
my best advice to him is don't be a sabelo todo, entiéndelo nada.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly agree with that. The idea of it. And again, let's just, for the purposes of recent discussion here, draw again a stark distinction between, ad hominem means that you are attacking the person and not their point. It could be considered what, name calling is a subset of. And again, as much as I'm not in favor of it, that hill no longer exists, as a commenter put earlier. But there's a stark distinction between that and then, again, attacking someone in a way intended to cause harm to their reputation and their person, again, libel or slander, depending on if it's written or spoken or not. So that is pretty much, if you want to talk about a clear, bright line, that's the way at least we consider it and pretty much have to.
Right. Yes, and nobody's reputation should be attacked, and nobody's nobody should be put in any type of harm. I don't care how much you dislike a person or his opinions. But anyway, Andrew, thank you for allowing me to speak, and have a good weekend.
Yeah, you as well. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there too.
Thank you.
I'll just say this on ad hominem. Again, name calling is not how I end up going about this, but if anything, if you're not actually addressing someone's point, if you're not saying that, well, here's why I disagree with you in these things about saying, well, you're a so-and-so, so you can't possibly be right. I mean, that says more about you, the person doing the ad hominem, than it does about anything else. And frankly, in a lot of ways, ends up being essentially a capitulation, saying that, well, I ain't got anything to say about your reasoning, so I'm just going to attack you. And it just means you've lost, in my mind, when it comes to the argument. So for those of whom it's important to win or own or deal with the other people you disagree with in that type of fashion, just kind of keep that in mind. More than a few other people are definitely going to be thinking like, oh, so you couldn't actually come up with an argument against that? Interesting. At least that's the way I take it. Anyway, taking that next break right now. Coming back after the break, getting to more of the comments, calls, everything we do at this point during the program, including quite a lot of debate in the comments over the snack or candy of choice at the moment. Okay, anyway, we'll get into those and among other things after this break. Stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Getting squeezing in the calls that we can. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. The Mexican pop group Rebelde will kick off their world tour tonight at the Sun Bowl, and fans are already lining up for what will be the second stadium show in as many weeks at the Sun Bowl. Last week, Def Leppard and Motley Crue performed. Tonight, it's Rebelde, which is touring 10 stadiums and 16 arenas. The group has been in town for a few days and rehearsed last night, but tonight, expect heavy traffic and delays if you're traveling around the Sun Bowl area and UTEP campus, as a crowd of tens of thousands is expected. The Isleta School District plans to sell 2 vacant schools. The school board made that decision on Wednesday. The board said the properties were surplus and authorized the superintendent to get a real estate broker to sell the 2 properties. Those schools are Ramona Elementary on Nichols Road in the Lower Valley and Del Norte Heights Elementary on Winslow, which was closed and moved to Sageland Elementary School. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
No crashes on your borderline freeways, just some delays. I-10 eastbound from Vinton to Red, 10-minute delays. 12-minute delays, I-10 westbound from Hawkins to the Patriot. Heads up for road debris, I-10 westbound at Geronimo. And El Paso fires on the scene of a crash South Mesa Street, just past Donovan Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, we're in for a warm weekend here in the borderland. Temperatures are going to be in those 90s. We'll see a little bit of clouds in the sky. We're also going to see those lows in those 70s as we head on into the weekend. As we make our way into next week, those rain chances will start coming back. Starting on Monday, we'll see about a 20% chance for rain. Head on over to kfoxtv.com for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Dog days of summer got your business needing help? Check out Indeed, an all-in-one hiring solution that makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 toward your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th through 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest and modern guns, custom knives, scopes, huge selection of ammo, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, August 26th and 27th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com.
Fall into autumn hiring with Indeed. Their all-in-one solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And a lot of debate about snack cakes, Oreos, and candy bars, including Angel Rueda promoting the Halloween orange Oreos, James Ratcliffe saying the double stuff, and Edgar Ortiz. A lot of opinions on Oreos out there, y'all. Edgar Ortiz thinking the Oreo Thins are a scam. I don't know, I like the crunch of them, but again, you do you. And also people saying a Nutter Butter guy or Payday All the Way by Buddy Bias. So again, you do you. Lupinato saying he's an almond joy because I feel like a nut. No comment there, but again, a lot of different opinions being expressed and things going on there. And Robert Gable actually saying when it comes to the mugshots, thinking that everyone should have smiled like attorney Jenna Ellis did. I mean, like, you can give the response to it and for the banter, more or less saying it there. I'm just saying, anytime it's just not a good policy to do it there. I mean, as much as apparently there was a website registered years ago that was already starting to like sell T-shirts, mugs, etc. from the publicly released document there. Yeah, it's just, if should I ever end up in that unfortunate situation of being suspected of and booked for a crime, I'm definitely not going to be smiling. And if you ever have a possibility of you ending up being in it as well, would not recommend. It's the thing that always makes the listicles online of like, look at these crazy mugshots from famous people. It's just a bad plan. Anyway, let's get back to those phone lines now. We do have Stephen on the east side here with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't smile in the mugshot just because I think the judge might not like it.
That too, and there's no upside to it. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. So, I wanted to call about a few things, national things. The wildfire out there in Hawaii is pretty horrendous.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting now it's being covered, or the lack of coverage on that, because it seems to me like for a couple years there was a lot of red flags going up about the potential for that kind of wildfire. And I don't know who owned that electrical company, but there's all kinds of evidence that there was brush growth all growing up on the power lines. Like they didn't take care of that.
Sure.
There was these warnings that this kind of wildfire could happen. And then, you get some dry weather, you get some winds, and then it's just a tinderbox. So someone really, really dropped the ball over there, not only with, the response once the fire began, and it sounds like they didn't give people enough heads up about the fire coming. They blocked off the ways out of the city so that people couldn't leave. It's just the response was a disaster, but even leading up to it. And so it's interesting that there's kind of not enough information coming out about what really happened there. So it'll be interesting to find out, and hopefully some people are held accountable. And it's along that line, I think in general, when the citizens of the state or the country become complacent, the government is just going to get away with all kinds of nonsense. And that is, imagine how much money, if you make any kind of money, if you pay property tax, you pay state income tax, you pay federal income tax, you pay taxes when you die, you pay taxes when you buy anything. Think of all of the taxes. And the government is still $31 trillion in debt, which is absolutely absurd. So I think we need to wake up. Unfortunately, things might have to get bad before we wake up and hold people to account.
I'll agree with you on that idea. Certainly, 30, according to USDebtClock.org, 32,725 billion and a half, according to the current counter on it. I mean, I think at least on that part there, not ignoring the rest of what you said, but on that part specifically, it is a disconnection because, okay, I know this is not going to be a popular statement, but the way I take it is that basically you're paying of taxes, the money you actually pay to the federal government is almost completely disconnected from then what is then ending up being used. You can call that part of the debt ceiling. You can call that the removal of there being, a precious metal standard behind it. Though I would say that's basically, the statement that you find on your dollar bill of full faith and confidence of the U.S. government. Basically that is, the greenback is still an appropriate name for it because it's basically backed by the green, the military. And so as long as the U.S. has faith in it, whether or not that's, history will only be the thing to tell on that, whether that has been a reasonable or reliable part throughout. This is a relatively new thing in history, if you really want to get down to it, even though there have been instances of, hyperinflation, of the devaluation of currency, of those things in the past. This is still relatively, arguing on it's a new animal, the idea of fiat currency, particularly to this end of it. So that's a little bit of the philosophy and not directly what you're talking about. What I will say is that I mean, but of course, local governments can end up doing that, which is why the taxes end up being a little bit more connected to what is actually possible, viable, able for them to do. At the very least, I mean, sure, they can do bonds and things like that, but there's a little bit more direct of a, okay, are you actually going to be able to do this, finance it, pay it back, etc., at that level than it is certainly the federal.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people around the world are losing confidence in the United States' ability to back that currency up, and so you're already seeing a lot of different groups around the world getting together to come up with their own currency that's backed by something that's legit, because they're losing confidence in the greenback. The other thing I wanted to call about was, I didn't in the past vote for Donald Trump in the primaries. I oftentimes I like kind of even cringe about defending him, but sometimes the attacks against Donald Trump have been so ridiculous. I too often find myself like trying to defend Donald Trump, even though he wasn't really my guy.
Sure.
And here we are again. I haven't seen any really legitimate charges against him. I mean, the documents charge is just reeks of two-tier justice system when he is covered by the Presidential Record Act. Meanwhile, Joe Biden had all these documents. He wasn't president. He didn't get in trouble. Hillary Clinton wasn't backed by the Presidential Records Act. She did all these things with documents and things. They didn't even look at Barack Obama. Who knows what he has? And they didn't even bother to look, I guarantee it. So it seems like this two-tier justice system. Now, I would change my mind if I actually see that in the charges there's actually legit things that he did wrong and he actually committed crimes. Then anybody should pay for any crimes, and the punishment should fit the crime, of course. So
sure.
I haven't seen anything like that. So the fact that they're doing all these different things, and this is on the back of what these deep state actors did during his presidency, where they said he was colluding with Russia. It was all bogus. The DNC colluding with the people in the FBI, State Department, pretending the Steele dossier was legit, even though they knew it wasn't, and continued to investigate him and ruining his first couple years of his presidency with the Mueller investigation and all that stuff. It just is on the back of that. And now that you see, I mean, it makes me think there are people like Raul and Eric who are just Trump derangement system, but these people actually work in the government. And imagine how ridiculous we hear it like almost every day on this radio program, because they're so crazed that they call in all the time. There are people like that who actually work in the State Department. And that's what we're dealing with here. And so now I feel like, you know what, I am going to back Donald Trump after all, because these people can't get away with this. They can't get away with the two-tier justice system. And I think the only way out of this is to show them that it's not going to work anymore. And I'm reluctant to do so, but I think that's how I'm leaning right now.
I've drawn a stark distinction in the past and continue to do so between, of course, the court of public opinion, any other investigation or, proceedings, and legal ones, because there is a stark difference. And anything in the court of public opinion intended to try to drag down, beat down, put down, or remove from the realm of possibility, the former president has not worked, at least to not any significant degree, to where he has at the very least lost control of his own party. I mean, there's been infighting, the poll debate that was on there, but if that's the modus operandi, the purpose behind it, it comes from and the goal behind it, it comes from a severe place of misunderstanding why there is support and continues to be for the former president, and just trying to do it saying, well, he's bad. I said he's bad. Why do you still like him? And this kind of almost confusion like it. I mean, again, it used to work in the past. We are still not having fully culturally absorbed the differences that we have seen come from. There's still going to be a lot of call of this. I have to say, I mean, this is cloudy crystal ball time, but referring to the at least the Trump influenced era of politics, we haven't encapsulated that just yet. But I will say that, I mean, given the serious nature of the charges, anything besides a full completion of the process, whatever the outcome of it may be, would not be viable, tenable, or even desirable in my mind at this point in time.
Yeah, like I said, I could change my mind if I actually saw something real and legitimate. But talking to your lawyers, I mean, Mark Meadows, he got charged within this conspiracy. I think they asked him for phone numbers of some, like, oh, that guy in Pennsylvania, what's his phone number? And Mark Meadows gave him the phone number, and so he gets charged too. He's got his mugshot on. I mean, just like ridiculous. I don't think that we should stand for that. It can't be politicized like this. The Justice Department, the law, the way the law should be balanced and not biased against anyone in particular political party. I don't think we should stand for that because everything is going to fall apart if we let that happen. So yeah, I've been modifying my views a little bit on who to support and everything. The debate was interesting. That Vivek guy is pretty interesting, but you don't know if he's never actually governed anything, so we don't really have a record on him.
Sure.
He's also a little bit too bombastic. I didn't like how he claimed that all the other people are, quote, bought and paid for. I don't think that's necessarily fair. But he's pretty smart. He's pretty swift on he's articulate, and he knows what people kind of want to hear, and that makes me a little bit suspicious. But I do like his ideas of drastically cutting back the federal government, and so I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Fair enough here. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Take care.
All right, I think we can squeeze on one more call on the lines. We've got a very patient caller there. We do have Johnny in Central on line with us here right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I wish I had more time, but I guess I'm going to have to just run through my little list here real quick here.
Sure.
Who cares about Hunter Biden? He's a private citizen. Let him go, commit his crimes, do his, go through his justice system and do whatever happened. He did not work in the White House. So I do not see him as a threat, unlike the president's daughter and son-in-law. Nobody's talking about that. They made tons of money, walked away. But everybody wants to be talking about Hunter Biden. I don't care about Hunter Biden. If I thought he was a threat, I'd be right in line like everybody else. Talking about the inflation, somebody mentioned here in the city about the people in the county making so much money. I want to throw another inflation number at you. I was looking at the former president flying into Georgia last night, and I'm looking at where you had the federal, you had the state, and you had the city, all kind of employees that were being paid. I'm quite sure some, overtime, you name it. And I'm just wondering what kind of money that costs the taxpayers just to get one person to fly in, go in, be indicted, fingerprinted, weighed or whatever, not weighed, but you know what happened. And I'm hearing that most people, when they go in like that, it takes them hours. This guy does this with all this security. And I counted those vehicles. You had about 20 of those big, pretty black SUVs, and I think one emergency vehicle behind and all this. And then it was 20 minutes and back on the plane. That costs some taxpayers tons and tons of money. People keep saying nobody's above the law. This guy is being treated above the law, because I'm quite sure nobody who's going in and getting indicted would have made what you call a grand interest like this. I looked at the debate the other night, and those people up there, and I was just listening, with an open ear. And then when it's all over, they was asked, would you support this guy if he became convicted? Not indicted. He's already been indicted, convicted.
Sure.
And they did not hesitate. 6 of them did not hesitate to raise their hand. And right then and there, I just blew all of them off. I said, what are you up there for? Because had he been on the stage, he would not have raised his hand to say that he would support them. So I don't know what they're up there for. And lastly, talking about age and stuff, people always want to keep on talking about Biden's age. Keep in mind, Trump is only 2 or 3 years behind him. And I was looking at Trump coming off that plane last night, not mocking him, but you get a certain age, you're going to have to grab those railings when you're going up and down stairs or steps. So I wish they'd quit talking about Joe mumbling and stumbling, and you also got this young man 3 or 4 years behind him experiencing some issues too. I know that my time is up, so if you got things to say, please say it.
Sure thing. Well, I appreciate the point in the call there. We're going to have to pretty well leave it there for today because we're out of time here. I will say this, that the agreement to be on the stage was, that was the agreement to be made there during the debate to support the eventual nominee, though that is one of the reasons that the former president was also not on that stage, because he disagrees with that himself here. But anyway, we have to end it there because we are super out of time here for this program. A couple of things that we have going on for you, of course, coming up this weekend on the El Paso History Radio Show. Going to be having on the Scottish Rite representatives from it about, of course, what has happened recently, also the recovery efforts, and, of course, the history behind the building. a lot more on that. So we'll have to leave it there for today. Want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. I want you all to stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great weekend, y'all. We'll see you next week or on the History Radio Show. Either way, have a good one, y'all.